It's like, honestly, man, it's wicked being Muslim. Ask these guys, man. Even like sometimes when I have no food at home, I start fasting. My dad would say, we're not poor, we're just fasting today. All right. Gotcha.
Rasul tells us his impressions on the future of Muslim comedy.
Well, that's, even doing my act, you'll see that I think brown people are the new black people. Because back in the days, people were not ready to embrace, example, if you take hip-hop, they weren't ready to embrace if there's money in this or if people like it. So right now I can compare myself or the comedy to like almost music, because right now it's very new to them. It's gonna take time to grow. Like same thing with if you talk about Bruce Lee or Jackie Chan, those guys were huge back in the days. But it's just now people are ready to say, oh my God, there's a market for it, people love it, okay, let's put some money into it. So it's going to change. You'll see a lot of comics who are Muslims, or they don't have to be Muslims. Like you saw Dave, he's Lebanese. I never knew he did comedy till now.
It's kind of cool, man. Because like sometimes I do shows, and you know, like when I do shows, sometimes people don't laugh. They don't laugh sometimes, right? So when no one is laughing, it means that the comic on stage is bombing. Well, since I'm Muslim, I'm still doing a good job, huh?
Rasul would rather perform in the U.S. than in Canada, he says, because American audiences are more accustomed to his brand of comedy.
I love performing, well, let's say in U.S. I prefer performing in U.S. better than in Canada, because I feel that the Americans are more laid back. They don't get offended very easily. But as opposed to performing here in Canada, people are very, you know, they're very like, you know, they're not ready. They're getting there, but they're not ready to just sit back and say, okay, that's a joke. He doesn't mean anything by that. Americans, they're like, okay, I'm sure he doesn't mean by that. He's on stage with a mic. He's telling jokes. Who cares? But here, they try to find out, what are you really trying to say? They think too much. That's how you become terrorists. You're thinking too much. Chill. You have 4 wives. Hang out with them. I don't think Canadians have been exposed. The Canadians have not been exposed to comedy as much as Americans, because Canadians are very safe. They're very like soft, you know. If a fight breaks out, you know, and a war breaks out, they're like, they want to be, they're peacekeepers. Like, hey, stop, and they get hurt in the middle of trying to, you know, trying to make peace. So they're very like rigid. Chill, relax, have some falafels on Sundays.
I never realized that Canadians might not be as receptive as Americans when it comes to comedy. Just goes to show you that there are always differences in the world. Stay tuned for more of The Beat right after this. Welcome back to The Beat with me, Tuba Khilji. We continue our discussion with Rasul Somji. In this segment, we get to know a little bit more about Rasul's beginnings and what else he is involved in besides comedy.
Actually, I was working on a DVD, my first DVD, that I entitled Halal Jokes. And I was in the process of putting it together, producing it, all that stuff. But then this came around, and I had to drop what I was doing and jump on to doing something like this, because it's just that there aren't that many Muslim comics. There aren't, you know what I mean? We're very rare, you know what I mean? So I'm like, okay, I guess these guys, they need me right now, so I don't have to be selfish. So I'm working on that, and I'm also planning to go on tour with the Wayne Terrace show, to go internationally. I spoke to people in New York, and we're going to go through that route. So I have that happening. I'm also doing acting and stuff like that. So you guys will see me around. I'm going nowhere. Nowhere. You'll remember this face and this pimple.
But I got like, you know, that's why, man. I'm having a hard time dating girls, man. It's hard picking up Muslim girls. It really is sometimes. because we wear the scarf, the hijab, and then sometimes you can only see their two eyes. Once I picked the same girl twice. Those color contacts threw me off. Oh.
I asked Rasul if he could hang out with any famous person, alive or dead. Who would it be? His answer was not that surprising.
Richard Pryor. I would love to hang out with Richard Pryor. Him, because it's Richard Pryor. He is so, like, real. There are a lot of comics who are not real. There are a lot of comics who would like to make up stories. And Richard Pryor or George Carlin or even someone like Bernie Mac, I would love to be around them and ask them questions about what I do if I, like, you know what I mean? It's just, if you hang out with successful people, you become successful. But if you hang out with losers, you become a loser, plain and simple.
Writing comedy routines is hard work. Rasul writes many jokes, but only a few are good enough to make it into his act.
I write a lot of jokes. The problem with that is that, let's say, sometimes in a month, I write 10 different ideas. But then, you have to practice those. The more I practice, so from that 10 jokes, maybe I'll get one joke that I can use for everyone. Because sometimes I might be talking about one thing, but the audience are not going to be able to relate to that. So I have to throw it out. So you write, you write every day. And then sometimes you just have to write all new material to forget the old Rasul to become the new Rasul, because you grow. Well, not physically, as you can tell, because people are like, you're still the same.
I asked Rasul where he first performed professionally, and I was very surprised at his response.
My first professional gig was, where did I do professionally? Yeah, at a high school. The first time I performed was in a high school in front of 800 people, and at first they called me up and they said, Rasul, we want you to do this gig for an hour and we'll pay you $500. And I was so broke at that time, I said, fine, I'll do it. But then I hung up the phone. I'm like, damn, I only have 4 jokes and 2 of them are in Gujarati and 1 of them is stolen. So I had to call, thank God I knew Russell. So Russell said, okay, I'll be there, I'll bail you out. So I did that, and that was like my first show. And then, thank God, as time went on, I bombed on stage. Bombing means when people are not laughing, that means the comic is bombing. I have to make sure that you guys know. So after like a lot of mistakes you do, you kind of learn. So that was high school. Wow. And that was the same high school that my brother went to. And people